Now, Tyler Harris, Executive Director for Hoosiers for Good, joins me. Tyler, how are you, brother?
I'm doing well. Getting closer to Friday, so doing better than I was on Wednesday.
That's true. That's true. We're one day closer to parents and one day closer to the weekend, man. Working for the weekend.
I know. I'm
Don't
with you.
don't get seen. Usually that leads me into singing something because there's working for the. But I will spare you since we have a guest on. But if you weren't here, I would not. I would torture the guests. I mean, I would torture the listeners with that rendition. A new class came out a little earlier than expected. You guys were initially planning on doing a fall class, but a summer class came out yesterday that we saw 12 new entries, 11 IU men's basketball players, and Sydney Parrish from the women's basketball program transfer in. Big time name player, former Miss Basketball. So you guys are getting it covered on that front.
Yeah, it was certainly sooner than expected. When we initially kind of launched our first class, we thought having a spring and fall class would make sense, and really that's still the plan. Those are the classes that we've identified as the classes that we want to be really broad based in, and we thought it'd be neat to do something this summer, which we announced yesterday, and really just can't thank the kind of generous supporters for allowing us to make that happen yesterday.
Yeah, and the charities that are involved they're tied to the names. Caleb Banks and Logan Duncombe be working with the Cancer Support Communities South Central Indiana. Jalen Hood-Shafino and Malik Raynaud, former high school teammates, working with big brothers and big sisters of Central Indiana. So it's nice they have a bond already, so that'll probably help them with that. Tamar Bates and Miller Kopp, the YMCA of Monroe County. Jordan Geronimo and CJ Gunn. Warriors for Peace. What's Warriors for Peace?
So Warriors for Peace is a smaller organization up in Indianapolis, and it was started by two parents whose son was shot and killed on his way to work, and so their mission is really similar to Stop the Violence, and in that they're trying to end gun violence, and again, they're a small organization, so hopefully this will lift them up, get more people to recognize who they are, because they have a beautiful mission.
Absolutely. Let's see, where did I leave off? Trey Galloway is Little Star ABA Therapy of Bloomington. Xavier Johnson with a kid again, and Sydney Parrish, Riley's Children's Foundation. A big proponent, Riley's Children's Foundation. I know that they've been big in there, and having Sydney Parrish. Women's basketball players are just always popular. They always seem to have great personalities. Not that the other people don't, but from what I've seen, Sydney Parrish, great. What a great representation she's going to be.
Yes, one of the best components of Sydney is how great a person she is. She's just a great person. Really cares about all the important things. One thing with Sydney is she's got an unbelievable social media platform. I think she's pretty close to 200,000 TikTok followers. She's got nearly 60,000 Instagram followers. And so she's really going to be able to raise awareness through her platform and expose everyone to all the great work Riley does.
Which is tremendous, Dustin. Riley's Children's Hospital here in Indiana. What is oh my gosh, I feel bad. I can't think of her name. The director. Oh man. Oh, that we talked to so much from Riley's. Donna? Is it Donna? No, I'll pull it up in a minute. But yeah, they've just gotten so. That's a connection that is. It was not really known to Indiana before, but there is certainly a great connection. We know about Cook and those types of places, but there are some people that probably a lot of people didn't know that were really helping out in the backgrounds.
Yes, certainly. And Riley, they see. As I was mentioning, I was in a golf scramble yesterday where all the proceeds went to Riley. And an interesting stat that they were mentioning is Riley sees over 300,000 kids a year. They treat over 300,000 kids a year, which is just
Wow.
unbelievable. And so hopefully Sydney in her way with her platform will really help continue Riley in that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dustin, go ahead.
I was going to say Riley Children's Hospital is one that's close to me because growing up, I went there and was treated for asthma quite frequently. And, you go in and when you're a little kid, you think this sucks. And then, when you get a little bit older and then you go in and you see that your situation isn't nearly as bad as, what a lot of those parents and children, what they have to go through. So I have a lot of appreciation. But one thing I wanted to ask Tyler was, how does kind of this, and forgive my ignorance here, but how does this, how do you match the players with certain organizations? Is it a pairing, or do the players say these are the couple of organizations I'd like to work with, or how does that whole process kind of work?
No, that's a good question. The first thing I look at is one, the platform each student athlete has, and then the charities platform, and see where we can pair student athletes with them to make that platform grow for the charity. I certainly ask the student athletes where their passion is. We're trying to add value, raise awareness, and while they can do that with their platform, it just makes it a lot better and easier if they're super passionate about that specific charity. So Trey Galloway, for example, he picked Little Star. He's got a really personal connection to autism through his family, and so he's super passionate. He requested that. Sydney certainly requested Riley's and wanted to do something, for the kids, and those are great. And the other student athletes, for example, for me, it was easier to pair them together with an organization for scheduling purposes, and to both of them use their platform to help kind of raise awareness for that charity. So a lot of it's via me kind of selecting with some metrics that I use, but certainly get input from student athletes and the charitable partners.
Now that we've got the summer class, will there still be a fall class?
Yeah, there will be. We haven't switched gears to thinking when that date will be, but there'll certainly be a fall class that'll be broad based, similar to our spring class. And then we application just closed on our charitable incubator program, which is, again, it's first of its kind, and it's really that process for student athletes who may not have a voice yet in the area or platform, but they are really passionate about a specific charity, and so they submit an application to us for funding, and identify projects that they're going to do to help raise awareness for that charity. And so that application just closed a couple days ago, and hopefully we'll be identifying student athletes in that process here soon.
And Tyler, a lot of this stuff is brand new to the world of the NCAA and the college athletics. And so I'm curious, is there something similar that, the Big Ten is known as a conference that likes to work together. Schools like to work together. So I'm curious to know if the Big Ten is working on something to incorporate all 14 and soon to be 16 schools, or if other schools have reached out to you within the Big Ten or maybe even outside the conference that have seen what you have done and are asking questions because they'd like to start something similar.
Yeah, as a nonprofit with 501c3 status, when we're requested to turn over, our 1023 application, for example, we have to do that. And so I've talked to probably 20 individuals that are, I would say, associated with a school loosely, like we are, associated with a school in their respective area, asking for our forms and talking them through the process. And so it would not surprise me if we see 15 to 20 organizations similar to ours, pop up around the country here soon.
Yeah, big differences. I mean, it makes a gigantic difference because you look at Indiana, and now 12 of 13 scholarship players have an NIL deal with Hoosiers for Good. I'd say that all 13 probably have NIL deals of some sort. Who's the scholarship player that's not under a deal yet?
Anthony Leal. He's the one, and really out of respect for him. keep the comments short. We certainly approached him, but there just wasn't enough interest on the sides to make it happen.
Okay, and I was just curious who it was, but but the point it shows is their opportunities are there for the entire team if you want it to be, and that says a lot to incoming recruits, incoming potential student athletes. Not calling other schools out, but to make an example, you look at Purdue, they don't have that. They're way behind, and it makes a difference. Now, we saw a player decommit yesterday from there. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. Not suggesting that it did, but I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised to see that when you've got schools that are just way behind. Now, eventually they'll probably catch up, but not to the same level. And you guys have done an outstanding job on jumping on it quickly and getting out front. And because there's probably a big learning curve too.
Yeah, no, that's certainly all very, very true. And the one thing I always like to remind people is, we're only 4.5 months old. We're still new. We're still getting our feet wet. And I think as we continue to get a handle on kind of all the nuances in this space, it's only going to be better. It's going to benefit student athletes even more, our charitable partners even more. And so it's certainly exciting. And the one thing that I love about Hoosiers for Good, it really caters to any preference. A donor could absolutely hate NIL, but through Hoosiers for Good, it's certainly a palatable way to support NIL because you're exposing these young people to just really important things, and allowing them to use their platform to really raise awareness for those important causes. And so it's certainly a palatable way for certain donors to support NIL, but also just a great way to do it, which is why I think we've seen so many, or I've talked to so many individuals that want to set up similar organizations.
Tyler, we've talked a lot about players wanting to get involved in this and what their passions are. I'm curious to know what your passion is and how you got started in this, because obviously you care a lot about this to be heading this up.
Yeah, so I was the head of the compliance office in the athletic department 5 months ago. And Fred,
that's why IU got it. That's why you got in no trouble, because of Tyler.
Or just great people like you guys who do just the right things, right? And so 5 months ago I was at IU. Fred had reached out. There was with setting this up in a charitable fashion, there's certainly an important component of making sure you're always doing things the right way. And you can do things the right way in this environment and still be really successful. But Fred called, and it was certainly something for me. I had a great job at IU, really loved my time there. But for me, I wanted to be able to make an impact on young people. And I thought of no better way to do that. So just really fit me where I wanted to go professionally and into my personal interests. And I was so gracious to IU. I gave it 3 days notice. So thankfully Fred smoothed that over though.
Yeah, I'm sure that was not a problem. Talk about the difficulties. You mentioned you guys go so far out of your way to make sure that you align these student athletes with charities, doing great things. There are other NIL opportunities for those guys that you have nothing to do with. Talk about the difficulties of those players managing the different ones, because there's a juggling act they have to do.
Yeah, they're full-time students, they're full-time athletes, and now they're managing their brand, their NIL full-time, and it's certainly a lot to deal with. We request a lot out of them. I'm not going to shy away from saying that. It's probably more work than any other NIL thing they're going to have to do. But that's intentional, right? We want to create a meaningful experience. We're giving great opportunities, but at the end of the day, we want to create a really meaningful experience. And hopefully, when some of these athletes go, or when these athletes go, whether it's onto the NFL, NBA, to just the professional world. They had such a great experience here that they'll want to serve on the board, or still be around that organization that they partnered with. And so the way we deal with it is I try to get out in front of it as much as possible and give them dates to appear at things. And once they figure out their schedule, then we can lock those in. It's certainly a juggling act because we're not the only NIL opportunity for them. But we try to manage it as best as possible. That's why we make a lot of these year long, to give just a lot of flexibility to fit within their schedule.
And I think one of the, a lot of people, as you mentioned, not everybody is quite on board with NIL just yet. It's still so new and everything. But one of the things I think gets lost with the NIL conversation, everybody wants to say, well, this player's getting $500,000 in a car, XYZ. But you guys are providing real life experiences. And I think that that's the positive side of NIL, and not just for you, but, if there's somebody that's in engineering and, they can do an internship with a company now, or they can, if they're a performing artist, they might be able to perform at a concert or something along those lines. So I think that what you guys are doing it's not just great for these organizations, but it's also providing real life experiences and opportunities for so many student athletes as well.
Yeah, we're exposing them to things that they've never been exposed to. To things I certainly have never been exposed to, and right. and that's just been a great experience, and seeing them and exposed to those things, and just how much it changes their perception on life. We're really trying to enhance that student athlete experience at IU through Hoosiers for Good, to really give them opportunities to be aware of these things that are going on out there, and use their NIL to support those causes, to help, whether it be children, those with autism, et cetera.